High-value negotiation. Using psychological data points to increase your annual salary. Introduction. The negotiation you were never taught to have. Most people never negotiate their salary. They receive an offer, feel grateful, and accept it. Or they feel underpaid, wish things were different, and do nothing. The negotiation that could change their financial trajectory never happens. Not because the opportunity was not there, but because they were never given the tools to approach it with confidence. This audiobook is about changing that. It is about understanding that salary negotiation is not luck, not audacity, and not something available only to extroverts or people with outsized confidence. It is a skill, a learnable, practicable, improvable skill, and it is built on something more reliable than personality or bravado. It is built on data, psychological data points, in particular, offer a profound advantage to the skilled negotiator, understanding how decisions are made, how value is perceived, how anchors are set, and how reciprocity and framing influence outcomes, gives you a systematic advantage in every compensation conversation you have. This book will walk you through those psychological principles, show you how to gather and deploy the data points that support your case, and give you the specific language and strategies to negotiate with poise, power, and a dramatically higher probability of success. Chapter 1. Why most salary negotiations fail. Before they begin, the most common reason salary negotiations fail is not a lack of confidence or a weak market position. It is a lack of preparation. People walk into compensation conversations, hoping things will go well rather than knowing why they should. Preparation is not just knowing your number. It is knowing the psychological landscape of the conversation you are about to have, who you are talking to, what they care about, what pressures they are under, and what will make your ask feel not just reasonable but obvious. The fear factor. Fear is the primary obstacle to effective negotiation. Fear of rejection, fear of seeming greedy, fear of damaging the relationship, fear that the offer will be rescinded, fear that you are not worth what you are asking for. These fears are understandable. They are also largely unfounded, and understanding why is the first step to transcending them. Research on negotiation consistently shows that employers expect negotiation. They build room into initial offers, precisely because they anticipate that skilled candidates and employees will push back. When you accept the first offer without negotiating, you are often leaving money on the table that was budgeted for you specifically. The fear of damaging relationships through negotiation is also largely misplaced. Managers and HR professionals generally respect candidates and employees who negotiate professionally. It signals confidence, self-awareness, and a clear understanding of one's value. What they do not respect is aggressive, entitled, or poorly prepared negotiation. The antidote to that is preparation. The information asymmetry problem. The second reason most negotiations fail is information asymmetry. The employer knows what the role is budgeted for, what comparable employees earn, and what the market rate is. The employee usually knows very little of this. Closing this information gap is the foundation of effective negotiation. And in the modern digital age, that information is more accessible than ever. Salary databases, professional networks, industry surveys, and Glassdoor-style platforms have dramatically reduced the information advantage that employers once held. The high-value negotiator does not walk into a conversation uninformed. They arrive having done serious research, with data points that support their position and the clear understanding of the range within which the conversation will occur. Chapter 2. The psychology of perceived value. Before you can negotiate effectively, You need to understand how value is perceived in compensation conversations. This is not straightforward. The amount an employer is willing to pay for a role is not simply a function of what the role is worth in the abstract. It is also shaped by perception, framing, and the psychological dynamics of the interaction. The anchoring effect, one of the most powerful psychological principles in negotiation, is anchoring. Anchoring refers to the tendency for the first number mentioned in a negotiation to exert a disproportionate influence on the final outcome. Once an anchor is set, all subsequent discussion happens in relation to it. This means that whoever sets the anchor first has a significant advantage. When an employer asks for your salary expectations, they are not just gathering information, they are inviting you to set an anchor, or they are about to set one for you. The strategic negotiator understands that the anchor should be ambitious, but defensible. Research suggests that first offers in negotiation have a stronger correlation with final outcomes than almost any other variable. Starting high, with data to support your position, consistently produces better outcomes than starting conservatively. The specificity effect. Psychological research on negotiation has found that specific numbers are more persuasive than round numbers. When you ask for an $87,000 salary rather than $85,000, you signal that your number is based on research and calculation rather than a rough aspiration. This specificity creates credibility. The specific number also implies that you know your precise market value, that you have done the work to arrive at this figure, and that there is a floor below which you are not willing to go. It shifts the dynamic from a conversation about what you would like to a conversation about what the data supports. The framing of investment, how you frame your ask, has profound implications for how it is received. The least effective framing is personal need. I need this amount because of my expenses, my lifestyle, my family. The most effective framing is organizational investment. Here is the return you can expect from compensating me at this level. When you shift the conversation from what you want to what you deliver, you reframe your salary as a business decision rather than a favor. This is the frame that resonates with the people who are actually making compensation decisions. Chapter 3. Gathering your psychological data points. Effective negotiation is evidence-based. The evidence you need falls into several categories. Market data. The foundation of your negotiation case is market data. What do people in comparable roles, at comparable companies, in comparable locations, with comparable experience levels, actually earn? Multiple sources give you a more reliable picture than any single source. Salary aggregation sites, professional association surveys, networking conversations with peers, and recruiting discussions all contribute to a comprehensive understanding of the market range for your role. When you present market data in a negotiation, you depersonalize your ask. You are not saying I want more money. You are saying the market compensates this skill set at this range, and I am asking to be within that range. Your performance data, market data, tells you what the role is worth. Your performance data tells you what you specifically bring to that role. These are two distinct and equally important arguments. Your performance data should be as quantified as possible. Revenue generated or influenced, costs reduced, efficiency improvements, team size, led or mentored, projects completed, on time or under budget, client retention rates, error reduction percentages. Numbers tell a story that adjectives cannot. Saying you are a strong performer is subjective and easy to discount. Showing that you drove a 30% increase in department efficiency is objective and difficult to argue with. The contribution gap analysis. One of the most powerful data points you can bring to a negotiation is a contribution gap analysis. This is a documented comparison of what you were hired to do versus what you have actually done, with particular attention to value delivered beyond your original scope. This analysis communicates several things simultaneously. It shows that you understand the business well enough to measure your own contribution. It demonstrates that you have delivered more than was asked of you, and it makes a compelling case that your compensation has not kept pace with your actual contribution. Future value proposition negotiations are not just about what you have done. They are also about what you will do. A compelling future value proposition, a clear articulation of what you intend to deliver in the coming year or period, makes your ask forward-looking rather than backward-looking. This is particularly powerful in raise negotiations. Tying your ask to a specific set of deliverables or goals turns the conversation from a reward for past performance into an investment in future performance. This reframing often unlocks budget that a simple review of past work might not. Chapter 4. The Architecture of a High-Value Negotiation Conversation. Armed with your data, you need to know how to structure the conversation itself. High-value negotiation follows a specific architecture that maximizes the persuasive impact of your preparation. Open with gratitude and enthusiasm. This is not performance, it is strategic. Beginning the conversation by expressing genuine gratitude for the opportunity and enthusiasm for the role establishes goodwill and demonstrates that your negotiation comes from a position of positive engagement, not adversarial positioning. People are more generous towards people they like, and who seem to like them. This is a documented psychological principle. Beginning with warmth before making your case is not manipulation. It is social intelligence. Anchor high with justification. Your first number should be at the top of your researched range, or slightly above it. But it must be accompanied immediately by justification. The data, the market, your performance, your contribution. The justification is what converts your anger from an ask into an argument. Without it, a high number sounds like ambition. With it, it sounds like analysis. Create space for collaboration. After you make your case, invite dialogue rather than demanding a verdict. Asking the question, what does the compensation structure look like for this role? Or what flexibility exists within the range, shifts the dynamic from confrontation to collaboration. This language acknowledges that the person across from you has constraints and agency, and invites them to work within those constraints to find a solution rather than defending against an ultimatum. Handle objections with data. When objections arise, respond with data rather than emotion. If they say the budget does not support your ask about the budget range for the role and whether your market data aligns with it. If they say your performance does not justify the ask, deploy your specific performance data, remaining calm, curious, and data-driven in the face of objections is one of the most powerful signals you can send in a negotiation. It communicates confidence without aggression, and it keeps the conversation focused on evidence rather than feeling. Chapter 5. The non-salary levers. Salary negotiation is not only about a salary. A high-value negotiator understands the full compensation landscape and is prepared to negotiate across multiple dimensions. Benefits and flexibility, health coverage tiers, retirement matching, paid time off, remote work flexibility, professional development budgets, equity, bonuses, and parental leave policies all have real financial value. When base salary flexibility is limited, these dimensions often have more room to move. Knowing the financial value of your entire compensation package, not just base salary, allows you to negotiate holistically. Sometimes a company cannot move on salary but can add a remote workday that saves you commuting costs, or accelerate your bonus eligibility, or increase your professional development budget. The strategic timing of asks. When you ask matters as much as what you ask. Negotiations initiated at moments of high leverage, after a significant win, at the beginning of a new fiscal year, when a competing offer is on the table, when you have just completed a major project, yield systematically better outcomes than negotiations that happen at arbitrary or low leverage moments. High-value negotiators are strategic about timing. They build toward their ask, accumulate evidence, and choose the moment when their leverage is highest. Chapter 6. After the negotiation. The negotiation does not end. When the conversation ends, what happens afterward shapes your long-term trajectory. Document everything. Any agreement reached in negotiation should be confirmed in writing. This is not about distrust. It is about clarity. Verbal agreements are subject to memory and interpretation. Written confirmation removes ambiguity and creates accountability. Builds toward the next negotiation. Every compensation conversation is preparation for the next one. The data you gather, the arguments you make, the objections you encounter, and the outcomes you achieve all inform how you will negotiate more effectively next time. High-value negotiators are playing a long game. They think of their career compensation not as a series of individual transactions, but as a trajectory that they are actively shaping through consistent, strategic advocacy. Conclusion. You are worth the ask. The most important shift this book invites you to make is not a tactical one. It is a belief shift. You deserve to be compensated at your full market value, not out of entitlement, but out of accurate self-assessment. The research, the preparation, the data, and the psychology in this book are all in service of that one truth. You have value, you can measure it, and you can advocate for it. The negotiation you have been avoiding may be the most lucrative conversation of your career. It is also one you are fully equipped to have. Prepare well, anchor high, stay grounded in data, and negotiate with the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly what they bring to the table. That is the high-value negotiation, and it is yours to have.